Hey guys, it's Rebecca Oberstadt, and today is going to be a real talk with Rebecca and Bubby. He's, I guess, feeling extra needy today, and I don't mind. So, this, I guess, real talk is going to be a little bit different than the last one, because the last one was kind of health related, but this is kind of like a common sense version. Yes, son, may I help you? Does my lip gloss smell like candy? It should. But it's like the kind of things that you wish that your parents would have taught you before you became an adult kind of situation. And I'm going to be talking about a few things and reading a couple things to you and encouraging you to maybe look into this or share it with somebody, because I think that this is information that everybody should have. So if you are interested in seeing a real talk that is kind of like a common sense aha moment, I wish I had known that, or these are really good things to know, then keep on watching, because that's what this one's about. So my friend, their name is Terry King, and they wrote a book called A Father's Advice, and they were so excited about the fact that they finally got self-published. I even reached out to Samantha March, and she did a book blog on the book, and of course I gave them, each other's information so they could be in communication. And I thought it was really awesome of her to take the time, even though this is not chick literature, this is not chick lit that she usually works with, this is not anything that is in even the realm of what she deals with when it comes to reviewing books for her blog. And the fact that she took the time out of her day and her life to review my friend's book means the world to me, and I cannot honestly thank her enough. So if you guys are not subscribed to Samantha March, I will leave her channel linked in the description box, as well as the information for the book and her blog. Ow, ooh, I love you too, asshole. And yes, I'm wearing my old Cubs shirt. This is from when I used to sing in Daytona, the national anthem at the Daytona Cubs, which now they're the Daytona Tortugas or Tortugas or Tortolas, or I don't know. The Daytona Tutus, for all I care, but the Daytona Cubs is no more. We had a hurricane come through, Charlie came through, and Matthew and a few others that came through, and they like destroyed the Jackie Robinson baseball field in Daytona Beach. So since then, or over the past, few years or whatever, they have become a different team. So my Daytona Cubs are no more. So this is the shirt that they gave me to wear while I was on the field singing on Monday nights for games. So if you're wondering about the shirt, it's not a Chicago Cubs shirt, it's a Daytona Cubs shirt. I've never even seen a Chicago Cubs game, but I do love baseball. I'm a Yankees fan. Okay, so getting into Terry's book. I've known Terry a few years now. 2016, 2012, 13, 14, I don't know. Met Terry quite a few years ago. And when they first asked me if I would read this and look into it and that kind of thing, I had their proof copy, their original copy of this. And I was like, sure. I mean, I've got 18 books right now that I've read a little bit of each, and I'm kind of I'm the kind of person that can read a book and put it down and forget about it for a year and pick it up and remember exactly where I left off. That's how I am. So I've got a bunch of books that are kind of in progress right now, and I've got things that people keep giving me that they're like, oh, hey, read this, and oh, this is a really great book. And or my dad finally found the Anunnaki book series that he's been wanting me to read. This is by Zachariah Stitchin, and I'm still reading it. I'm also in the middle of reading this one here, which is The Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clark. I've got the Dysfunctional one that is also written by a friend of mine. And I'm reading one of the Vampire Diaries or vampire books from a series that I had. Oh, here it is. It's Vampire Academy. I'm halfway through with this one. So I pick up random books and read them, and then I'm also in the middle of reading this history book that's right here. That's why it's stuck there, because I'll sit here and read. But I'm the kind of person that has to listen to music and read. I'm always multitasking. If I'm editing, I'm also talking on Facebook with people, or playing a Facebook game, or eating, or whatever. I'm constantly doing something else. I don't just do one thing at a time. Sitting here just talking is kind of I don't know what to do with myself because I need something to keep me busy. So this book, a lot of the information in this book is the stuff that my parents taught me. My parents. Now, I don't know how other people are raised, but I just turned 39. For those of you that may not know, I am 39. I live with my almost 65-year-old father and my 40-something-year-old brother. Hey, Bob, you're taking the camera. Hey, quit. It not bath time, son. Brat. Oh, you flick that tail at me, I'll come grab you. And then my friend Gina and her mom just moved in, so the house is kind of crazy right now, like absolutely insane. Her mom has dementia. I honestly have to give huge props to anybody that deals with dementia patients on a daily basis. I am surprised I still have hair after a week and a half of dealing with her. I went from being nice and calm and love everybody and hug trees to I want to climb the tree and stand at the top and scream my head off. So, huge props to people that deal with somebody with dementia. I don't know how you guys do it. I really don't. So, anyways, so this book is like little tidbits of knowledge that everybody should know, whether you are a child, a teenager, a preteen, an almost adult, and a young adult, a 20-year-old, a 25-year-old, even a almost 40-year-old. There's stuff in this book that I'm like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. It's like the aha book that I think everybody needs to read. And he wrote it specifically for like mid to late teens, people that would be going into high school, that need to think about preparing for their life, that are looking at, their future, things that would be like common sense shit that they do not teach in schools. Like, may I help you, Splash? Hey, don't tear up my door, fucker. And Gina came with 3 cats, 2 of which are kittens, so we had 10, now we have 13, there was 3, now there's 5. Hey, get off my door! I'm gonna beat your ass. Well, don't look at me like that. I'm not yelling at you. My kid is all sitting on the bed with his eyes all big. So anyways, these are like things that I know a lot of it my parents taught me, but after talking with Terry and asking them why they wrote this, why they took the time to write this, it makes sense now, because this is stuff that they didn't learn. And they're a decade or 2 older than me, and I know that this is not stuff that parents teach their kids, and it's stuff that we don't learn in school. This is stuff that we should be learning in school, to be honest. I think that if you have a math class, even basic math, a lot of the things that he talks about in the book about finances and what to do with your paycheck and how to figure out your bills and what to save and what to spend, that kind of thing, math teachers should be teaching that. There's other parts of this about being kind to everybody, not judging anybody by their appearance or their orientation or their religion or where they're from. That's something that I think maybe a social studies class should cover, or even your English teacher. There's like so many like good tidbits of information in this book that I don't think people think about to teach somebody else. I know, I feel like I gotta sneeze. Cats. I'm allergic to them, but we have a whole house. Yeah. Okay, so just going on the very front, and a lot of these are like little poems or quippy bits of information, and it's not like a book that you would read like cover to cover or chapter by chapter. It's a book that you can kind of like pick and choose where you read in it. So it says, we come into this life alone, here to live, love, to grow. As we grow, we need to learn and pass our knowledge on, So it talks about the things that they hoped and dreamed for people about this book. It says, I wrote this book so that I may give you advice on various situations that you are likely to encounter throughout life. I am not trying to tell you what to do. I am simply trying to give you the benefit of what I have observed and often painfully learned over the years. Please pardon my awkward way of saying things. You are becoming an adult. It is time for you to make your own decisions, and I am simply trying to give you some advice. It is up to you as to whether you take it or not. And then it talks about a few other things, but then we get into this, where it looks like there's a poem, and then there's like little excerpts after that. So this is the first, like, I guess you could say the beginning of the book, after the like preface kind of stuff. Bills. A paycheck. A paycheck is a magical thing, as welcome as the first sign of spring. It melts away like the first frost, leaving you wondering where it was lost. You work so hard to get that thing, where did it go? Was it on a spring? Then he does like paragraph forms of stuff. Plan what to do with your paycheck. Don't just spend it. Allow yourself some money to just otherwise spend as you wish, but plan the rest. Otherwise, you will swiftly get into trouble. When you are planning a budget, estimate what your bills will be and then add 20%. We had an envelope system when I was a kid, and I'll get into that in a minute. But we didn't have like the 20% thing, but we did have an envelope system with what we needed and when and that kind of stuff. That way, if you have underestimated, forgotten something, or something goes wrong, as usually happens, you have some money available to take care of it. If it turns out that you were correct, then putting that extra money in your reserve fund. Or then put that extra money in your reserve fund. Now, what I mean by an envelope system is when I was growing up, we had like chores that we did to earn money, or things that we would do to help out around the house that we would ask if something needed to be done, and we would do it in order for us to earn some money. We had envelopes for like tithe, toys, music, electronics, clothes, things like that. So, of course, tithe was 10%. So whatever we brought in, 10% of that money automatically went in that envelope every time, no matter what. And then as we aged, it became like things that we wanted that cost money, like a car. So we had, again, tithe, and then we had a car envelope, we had a car insurance envelope, and of course we didn't have cell phones when I was growing up. I didn't get my first cell phone until I was like 20, 19, 20. I had my very first Ericsson phone. Now they did have those big bag car phones when I was growing up, but those weren't real like popular until the 90s. So cell phones were not like a thing. But we did have video games. So we had a folder for like games. Now for cars, we paid the parents, the parental figures, for use of their vehicle. And we had to pay our insurance for that vehicle or the use of that vehicle. So I was working at Winn-Dixie at age 14. By 15, I was able to get hired on at Wendy's as well. So I was 20 hours a week at Winn-Dixie. I was 20 hours a week at Wendy's. And then I also volunteered at the W.T. Bland Public Library in Mount Dora. So I did like a lot of discard stuff. I shelved books. I know the Dewey Decimal System like the back of my hand. So I worked outside of school quite a bit. I had at least 2 jobs at all times until I was like 27. I always worked at least 2 places, sometimes 3. I get bored. So I started working at 14, and my parents bought me a Yamaha Jog, which is a 49cc scooter, and it's the one that you kind of get on and you just go. It's an automatic. You don't have to worry about shifting gears or anything like that. They bought it for me when I was 13. I was legally able to drive it when I was 14, and you didn't need a license for it because it was under 50 cc's. So I drove that to get back and forth to Winn-Dixie and Wendy's and everywhere else. And little sucker, depending on where I was going and who I was behind, I could go 55 miles an hour on that little guy, even though it topped out at 40. So, yeah, I used to scoot around town quite easily. And I drove myself to high school every day after I had to get a whole lot of permissions to drive to school because most kids were not even able to get a license yet. And I was already working 2 jobs and had a vehicle. So I had to pay my parents back for that. And so every time I got paid, X amount of money was pulled out. And on the top of the envelope it was a regular letter size envelope, and it would say scooter payment or vehicle payment. At the top, it said weekly and an amount, bi-weekly and an amount, monthly and an amount. And then depending on if I got paid every week, every other week, or once a month, depended on how much money I pulled. And every time I got paid, whether it was from Wendy's or Winn-Dixie, I would pull money and stick it in envelopes so that I knew I had my bill money set out. And then I always had a folder for like extra money, or I had one for extra and I had one for savings. I did have a checking account. I did have a savings account, but I would make like deposits like once a month because checking accounts like now are not like they were 40 years ago or even 30 years ago. So it was a little bit different. And I think I had my first checking account at I had my first savings account at 6. I had my first checking account at like 9 or 10, something like that, with a parent on it. So I've had a bank most of my life. So then he has another like saying here, and then we go into other things. But then he says, make sure you pay your bills on time every month. I know this is difficult, sometimes nearly impossible. If you can't pay all of the bill, at least pay something on it. This way your creditors will know that you are at least attempting to pay them. This will help your credit rating, and it may even improve. And then it talks about running into problems like paying your bills and things like that. Or, you know, the whole saying, write a check today and mail it and hope they don't deposit it in the bank before your money hits the bank. He talks about not doing that and why and what problems there may be in things like that. So let me just kind of randomly flip to a page. Let me go back a page. Oh, okay, here we go. Quitting school. If you quit formal school, you might as well be acting a fool. Without training, jobs pay so small, you hardly see your paycheck at all. No money for fun, not even to date. Try to avoid that terrible fate. If you are weak in an area of learning, study that area the hardest of all. I knew one person that was not very good at the area of English in his high school years. He knew that he had to improve if he wished to go to college, so he studied that area the hardest of all. He ended up making English his major in college. And then it talks about other different things about learning and education, it looks like. But it's like little things like this. I was reading one yesterday. What was it? And I kind of pop around in the book. Change. We cannot change the whole world wide, but we can affect those by our side. By our choice and our caring, show some love and do some sharing. You can help change someone's hell into a better place to dwell. And then it says, do not fail to help others as you go through life. It will come back to you at some unexpected time. Be kindly to the elderly and the handicapped people. Help them where you can. You might well be in their shoes one day. Be considerate of others' people's feelings. Always try to give the other person the benefit of the doubt, especially when he or she is being really rude. After all, they may just be having a really bad day. Try hard not to take your bad mood out on others. You will get along with people a lot better. Where's the other page? Here we go. When judging another person's actions that happened in an emergency situation, kindly remember that you were not there at the time. You have all the time in the world to make your decision, but they had perhaps 30 seconds. If you were lucky to make that decision. You do not have to fear as a companion to make your judgment. They undoubtedly did, and fear is not helpful in making good decisions. Do not be afraid to show your love for another person, no matter who they are or where you are. Cherish love where you find it. And I don't know, there's just like little quotes in this book. This is funny. Okay, our system. The system we have sucks, 'tis true, but till we fix them, we gotta make do. We have to work to change what's wrong. I warn you, though, it takes quite long. Use your voice and your vote. That's the only way bosses take note. I think that's funny. This one's called Our Systems, and then it goes into growing up. Many people have a lot to say about what defines a man and don't say a single word about what defines a woman. Apparently, they feel that the presence of breasts and menstruation defines the differences between womanhood and girlhood. They're only partially correct. The true differences between manhood and boyhood is the same difference between womanhood and girlhood. The presence of secondary sexual characteristics simply shows the physical maturation of the person. It does not have anything to do with the emotional maturation of the person, which is adulthood. You are an adult when you are willing to take responsibility of your actions and the consequences thereof. So basically, when you reach maturity is what he's talking about here. Sometimes people act like they're mature beyond their years, or that they had to grow up quickly. As a lot of times you'll hear that saying, "Oh, well, she had to grow up pretty quick," or you reminisce on the days and I wish I could be a kid again, and you're like, yeah, me too, because I had to grow up real quick, or I had to do this, or I had to do that. Well, I didn't have to work at the age that I did. I worked to get out of the house. I worked to get away from an abusive situation, both physically, mentally, sexually. I got out of the house just to get away. It was like my saving grace, I guess you could say, trying to work 2 and 3 jobs and stuff like that because I needed an escape. So I think for me, working was something that I didn't have to do, but it was something that I needed to do for my own sanity. Because if it wasn't for me working, I don't think I'd still be here today, because I had a lot of stuff that happened when I was younger, and suicide is never the answer. But at the time when you go through things, you don't think about that. You don't think about who you're hurting besides yourself. You don't think about the consequences or what you are leaving behind. You don't think about any of those things. You think about you, yourself, and you don't think about anything else. You think about you're fed up, you want it over, you are done with it, you can't handle it anymore, you just want to just be done. And you don't think about who you're leaving behind and what repercussions there would be to those people that you left behind. So I think that knowing now what I know, if I could go back and change things, there's a whole lot of things in my life I would change. But then again, I wouldn't be the person I am today if I hadn't gone through all those things. And I think Terry's book would be a very good stepping stone for somebody. It's not very expensive. You can buy it on Amazon. That's where he has a deal through, is through Amazon. I will leave it linked down below. But I think if you have a teenager or a preteen, I think that this would be very helpful information, even helpful information for parents looking to guide their children in a better direction, or just give you a new way of like viewing things or thinking about things. And Terry has agreed to come on my channel. So, and they keep asking, when do you want me to come over? When do you want to sit down and film? I'm like, can I rip my hair out now and call you later? So it's going to be more my timing than theirs, because they're ready, willing, and able. It's more of, when do I have time to sit down and do this? So if you guys have questions for Terry about this book, what motivated them to write the book, how long did it take, how did they start, those kinds of things, a lot of that information is in the book. But, if you have any questions about the book writing process, or how they got started, how they got published, what all they had to do, how much it costs, those kinds of things, if you're interested in those things, leave the comments down below, because Terry will be doing a video with me. And so you guys will be able to ask the author. So I guess we could do another real talk with Rebecca on that, and do like a Q&A thing with Terry King. So here's the book that kind of like started this thing, or at least I should say this video. And I'm gonna go ahead and pop off of here and finish eating, and probably get a shower and play with my hair for a minute. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. I just know that I want to do something different with it. And my friend Gina is willing to record with me about jail topics and prison topics, so those will be coming as well. It's just been a crazy 2 weeks since they've been here, and so it's just trying to find the time to sit down and do it. So those will be coming as well. And again, if you have any topics that you want to see me discuss for Real Talk with Rebecca, then leave them down below. And if it's something I don't know about, I will research it. And if it's something I have personal experience with, I will research it then as well. But I'll also include my story, and those will most likely be like 2-part Real Talks. So this is Real Talk with Rebecca, episode 2. So hopefully you guys enjoy. I will see you in tomorrow's video. Have a fantastic day or night, wherever you are.